Imagine this. You're a celebrated war hero, a top intelligence officer for MI6. Your country trusts you with its deepest secrets. But you're also working for the other side. This isn't a movie plot. This is the absolutely wild, true story of George Blake.
42. Just let that number sink in for a second. What is it? Well, in 1961, 42 years was the longest prison sentence handed down in modern British history. I mean, it was completely unheard of. A sentence like that, it was for a crime that was just as shocking. Yeah, those were the exact words from the judge as he sentenced George Blake. You can just imagine the silence in that courtroom, the shock. See, the man they were sentencing wasn't some enemy spy they'd caught. Nope, he was one of them, an insider. Which leads to the big question, right? How on earth did it all come to this?
So, to really get a handle on this incredible betrayal, we've got to look at the man himself. I mean, what makes a decorated British agent, a hero, flip and become a super spy for the KGB? The answer, it turns out, is a story that starts with incredible bravery and takes a dark turn in a Korean prison camp.
Okay, so let's walk through his early life, because this is what makes the story so wild. He's born in Rotterdam, then as a teenager, he joins the Dutch resistance, fighting the Nazis. He eventually makes his way to Britain, joins the Royal Navy, and his talents get him recruited straight into MI6. I mean, this guy is the dictionary definition of a patriot. And then he gets posted to Seoul, right at the moment the Korean War kicks off.
And right here, this is the turning point. For 3 solid years, Blake is stuck in a North Korean prison camp. He's watching the American bombs fall day after day, and while he's trapped with nothing else to do, he starts reading. And what does he read? Karl Marx, Vladimir Lenin. And in the quiet of that prison camp, these communist ideas, they don't just make sense to him, they start to take over his entire worldview.
And you don't even have to guess at his motives. Blake laid it all out in his confession. He said he became convinced that communism was the future, that it was a more just society. So what does he do? In 1951, while he's still a prisoner of war, he makes a choice that will change everything. He goes to his captors and volunteers to become a spy for the Soviet KGB.
Now get this, when the war ends, Blake is released and comes back to Britain. And guess what? He's treated like a hero. He just slots right back into MI6, he gets married, he has a family, and for the next 9 years, he lives a complete and total lie. To everyone at work, he's this dedicated, trustworthy officer. But behind closed doors, he's funneling every single secret he can find straight to Moscow.
And the damage he caused? It was absolutely catastrophic. We're talking about the identities of more than 40 British agents working behind the Iron Curtain. These are real people with families who just vanished. And then there was Operation Gold. This was this incredibly ambitious plan by the CIA and MI6 to build a secret tunnel right under Berlin to tap Soviet phone lines. A huge deal. Blake knew all about it. He told the Soviets before it was even finished. His betrayal didn't just cost lives, it crippled Western intelligence for years.
So eventually, the net closes in. Blake gets caught, he's put on trial, and bam, that 42-year sentence. He's shipped off to Wormwood Scrubs, this notorious high-security prison in London. Now, for anyone else, this is where the story ends, right? Game over. But not for George Blake. For him, this was somehow just the beginning of his most unbelievable act yet.
So inside this grim prison, Blake strikes up a friendship with the most unlikely person, an Irish petty criminal named Sean Burke. Now, Burke wasn't a communist. He didn't care about the ideology, but he heard Blake's story and was just floored by the 42-year sentence. He thought it was totally unfair, purely political. He took a liking to Blake, and when he was about to be released, he made a promise. He said, "I'll come back for you." And he was dead serious. The escape plan Burke came up with was something straight out of a movie, but so simple it's brilliant. He gets some cash from sympathizers, he buys a couple of walkie-talkies for communication, and the ladder, you're gonna love this. He builds a rope ladder using knitting needles for the rungs. Why? Because they're strong, light, and wouldn't make a sound. So, on this one rainy night in October 1966, Burke throws the ladder over the wall. Blake gets the signal, breaks a window, climbs the 20-foot wall, jumps, breaks his wrist in the fall, by the way, and Burke is right there to grab him and speed off in a car. Just like that, poof, he was gone. Of course, all hell breaks loose. There's a massive manhunt, the biggest in years. But it's too late. Blake is already underground.
being moved between safe houses in London. From there, his allies smuggle him across the English Channel, drive him all the way across Europe, and drop him off in East Berlin. And the best part? The KGB had no idea this was happening. They were apparently just as surprised as MI6 when their star agent suddenly appeared on their doorstep. And in Moscow, he wasn't a fugitive. He was a hero. The transformation was total. The man known as George Blake, the MI6 officer, was gone. In his place was Georgy Ivanovich Blake, a decorated KGB colonel. He went from being prisoner 7531 in a London jail to being honored with the Order of Lenin. He even remarried, had a new family, and was given a pension and an apartment. It's just a completely different life. And that's pretty much where his story ends. The super spy who got away spent the next half-century living a quiet life in a country house near Moscow. And he never once said he was sorry. Not once. Right up until his death in 2020, at the ripe old age of 98, he insisted he did the right thing, that he chose the right side. A peaceful end for a life that caused so much chaos. So that leaves us with this really tough question, doesn't it? How do you judge a man like George Blake? Is he just a traitor, plain and simple? A man who betrayed his country, his friends, and sent people to their deaths? Or was he something else? A man so committed to his beliefs, to his convictions, that he was willing to sacrifice everything for what he thought was a better world. Was he a traitor to his country, or was he true to himself? It's a question that has no easy answer, and it perfectly captures the complicated, shadowy world of the Cold War.